Hello and welcome to episode number 203, where Divya Alter returns to talk about cooking for autumn, what's happening during the transition of the seasons, and Divya explains to us what fruits and vegetables are really good to incorporate this time of year, along with what spices and what type of meals will keep our digestive system happy and healthy. So please stay tuned. Welcome to the Elements of Ayurveda podcast. I'm your host, Colette, and I hope to educate and empower you to take charge of your health and well-being, preventing disease in the body and mind so that you can thrive in life. I will be sharing the holistic teachings of Ayurveda, which is the ancient healing tradition from India. I will also discuss topics like yoga, which is the sister science of Ayurveda, and various topics under the umbrella of holistic health and planetary health, as well as interviewing lots of inspiring people along the way. My humble wish is to help you to connect to your true nature and to Mother Nature. Now, if you're new to Ayurveda, I recommend listening to the first couple of episodes where I do an introduction to Ayurveda and the mind-body types. And if you like the content, please be sure to subscribe or follow the podcast so the new episodes will automatically download for you. Also, you may want to check out my private Elements community, which is away from social media. It's a safe space for like-minded people to come together, to connect, to share, to support each other, and to continue the conversation from the podcast episodes. Check out the link in the show notes or visit my website, elementshealingandwellbeing.com, and just click on the community tab. And I hope to connect with you there. Thanks for listening, and now here's a new episode. This episode is sponsored by Kerala Ayurveda Academy. Are you inspired by the Vedic traditions and curious to deepen your study? Kerala Ayurveda Academy is a full-spectrum Ayurvedic company with deep roots in India, offering education, wellness, and herbal products. You can study online or in person and train in the birthplace of the ancient traditions, Kerala, India, where thousands of medicinal spices grow wild in the mountains. As a beginner, you can choose from 2 certification programs, the 300-hour Holistic Ayurvedic Coach certification and a 600-hour Ayurvedic Health Counselor certification. Kerala Academy is thrilled to now offer the counselor certification in a format for European students. Additional workshops and online series are all designed to support students and professionals to upskill, so you can receive an authentic training in Ayurvedic health sciences. To learn more, visit keralaayurveda.us. That's keralaayurveda.us. Hello and welcome back to the Elements of Ayurveda podcast. Today I'm very happy to welcome back Divya Alter. She's a certified nutritional consultant, educator, and co-founder of Bhagavat Life, the only Ayurvedic culinary school in Manhattan. She and her husband Prentiss also own Divyas Kitchen, an Ayurvedic restaurant in Manhattan. Divya is the author of What to Eat for How You Feel, the new Ayurvedic Kitchen, and also another book in the works, Divya, which we're going to talk a little bit about. How are you, Divya? It's great to have you back on the show.
Yes, Colette, thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure to be back after a nice summer break.
Yeah, and you were busy before the summer because you were in the end stages of writing your new cookbook.
Yes, we did the photo shoot, we worked on the design, and now it's in production. I'm so excited and I can't wait to announce it.
Wonderful. Well, maybe you can share some little tidbits along the way as we discuss eating for Vata season. In the Northern Hemisphere, we just went through the autumn equinox, and now we're transitioning into cooler and shorter days. And so we're going to jump into this discussion today, Divya. And I guess let's start with, how does this transition affect our digestive system, the transition of the seasons?
Yes, I was, I was just observing the change in weather here in New York City. And I was thinking, oh, wow, the temperatures are already down to the 70s, mid 70s, and they go down to 60s during the night. And it's just so pleasant. It's not too hot and it's very nice. And I was thinking, how is it different from the 70s and 60s in spring? Because we experience the same temperatures,
Right.
but the atmosphere is so different. And the difference is that in fall, there's a lot more dryness in the atmosphere. You notice how your skin feels drier, probably.
Yeah.
And there is a lot more dryness in the environment, which increases dryness in our body. And dryness is one of the Vata characteristics, the airiness, the dryness. And in spring, we have similar temperatures, but there is so much more moisture in the environment from the snow that melted in the mountains and from the frequent rains.
Right.
There's a lot more humidity and moisture, and that in spring also we accumulate more moisture in our body. So same temperatures, but very different experience.
Yeah, it really is interesting. And of course, at the end of summer, we have this accumulated heat as well at the end of the hot season, which creates a dryness as well.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so that's another great difference to mention. In spring, we experience accumulated sluggishness from winter, and in fall, we experience accumulated heat from the summer. And the way the heat moves in the body, heat always moves up. I mean, in the environment, but also in our body. So you may experience a little more falling, your hair is falling a little bit more than usual if you have excessive heat in your body. And I compare this to the trees. The leaves fall off of the trees because the accumulated heat goes up to the crown and the leaves fall off.
Very good, yeah.
So similarly, the crown of our head, our hair, if we have excessive heat in the body, we might experience a little extra hair loss than usual, and that's normal. Don't worry about that.
Right, and some people will even feel excess heat on the top of their head.
Yes. So fall is like a transition season between the hot summer and the cold winter months. So it's also so important for us to transition our diet, just like we adjust our wardrobe.
Right.
We get the scarves and the sweaters and the light coats and all that. So and our digestion also changes. So to get back to your question.
Yeah, no, these are all great points. But yeah, so the digestive system, I feel there's always a few weeks where we're kind of going back and forth between two seasons, right? It's maybe go back to the summer heat for a day or two, and then it kind of gets really cool and you might have more wind. Of course, all this depends on where you live. But you really have this kind of confusion in the weather for a few weeks as you transition. And that creates confusion in our digestive system. I know for me, it's like, I don't know what I want to eat. Like I'm not craving the foods of autumn and I'm really not, excited by the foods of summer. So it's like this in between where your digestion is really just confused.
Yeah, exactly. This irregularity of temperatures during fall also creates irregular digestion for us. So sometimes we have stronger appetite. Sometimes we feel like I don't feel like eating, and we feel more bloated. We're tired after our meals. So yes, it's like you may feel like, oh, I'm tired of zucchini. I ate them all summer. But grabbing the butternut squash and the sweet potatoes might feel still too heavy for you.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So what I do is I always go with how I'm feeling today. So the temperatures today and how I feel today, because if it's very hot and I'm really feeling a lot of heat in my body, then I'll continue with the cooling foods, like, as I mentioned, zucchini and fennel is so good in this season, and still, maybe I feel like eating a salad if I have strong enough appetite. But yes, using the cooling spices more, like coriander and fennel, and some more cilantro, like that. But if it's kind of windy and chilly outside, and you really feel the wind on your skin, and it's like, oh wow, it's so dry, and my hands are kind of cold today, and my feet, my circulation is a little off, then definitely go with more Vata balancing foods, like warm cooked foods. Soups and stews are really so comforting. And then we can go into more specific foods as well.
Yeah, exactly. Let's stick with the digestive issues right now, because I'm talking to a lot of people. Like you said, I just have no appetite at the moment. I don't, know what to eat, but also I'm not feeling like my appetite is very strong. And so let's talk about some things we can do during this transition. Of course, cleansing, and we have our group seasonal cleanse starting October 1st. But this is something that Ayurveda recommends at the join to the seasons, right? And can you talk a little bit about that and why?
Yeah, so gentle cleanse in this season is so good because it helps release excessive heat from the body.
Right.
And open the channels in the body, clean those pathways, so that you will be much less prone to congestion, which a lot of people get, seasonal congestion. And also it will kind of strengthen your immune system and keep your body open during the winter months, when our channels tend to shrink a little bit because cold temperatures, they shrink things. So our channels shrink, and we tend to accumulate more sludge, so to say, in our body. So it's like it's so nice to clean out, but very gently, because when there's a lot of heat in the body, you have to be very gentle in how you release it.
Absolutely. And let's talk a little bit about why it's important to release this heat. Of course, we talked about how it's this accumulation at the end of heat in our body. The end of the hot season can create, heat. We talked about maybe more hair loss. But if we do not clear out this excess heat, then it's going to cause problems in the coming season, right? In the Vata season.
Yeah, exactly. And that could cause it. What can happen is that the heat, the Pitta, can get trapped inside in the body.
Yeah.
So even though it's cold, you experience these hot flashes, and you feel Vata imbalance, but at the same time you have a lot of heat.
Yes.
And that's really tricky. So the way I deal with this situation is I incorporate foods, especially now when it's not too cold, it's not too hot. One day is cold, one day is hot. I incorporate foods that are balancing for both Vata and Pitta.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great idea. And as I'm talking to people who are joining the cleanse and tailoring the program to them, and it is a lot of that. It is, a lot of, I can't give you a lot of Vata spices because they're going to be too pungent. So you're kind of doing this balancing act between Vata and Pitta.
Yes, yes.
And you find a lot of the imbalances are Vata will push that heat, right? And it can show up in skin rashes. It could manifest a lot with that excess heat in the skin or in the bowel movements.
Yes, exactly. So whatever your weak spot is, the heat can cause inflammation or problem there. Because again, Pitta and Kapha, these two doshas, they're like they govern all kinds of functions in the body. Mm-hmm. But it is Vata that regulates them. It is Vata that tells Pitta, okay, do this. It is Vata that tells Kapha, do this, go lubricate this. So when Vata is out of balance, and it causes circulation issues, it causes block. It's like traffic jam.
Yes.
So
all
you
the
can
traffic lights are out.
Yeah, and you get like a ball, like a ball of heat trapped in your body. Yeah. It can also cause acid reflux, and you can have acidity due to Vata imbalance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I really feel this time of the year is when the skin is very vulnerable. The skin is, like we said, the dryness at this time of year. But I know, a lot of dermatologists talk about this time of the year is when a lot of skin problems manifest. between
Yeah,
Vata
tell
and
me
Pitta.
about it. I don't have skin issues really, but I have a very Vata body. I'm kind of entering Vata stage of life, and my skin gets so dry in the fall. And sometimes it's like from one day to the other. It's very close to the equinox, and one day I just wake up with such dry skin, and I'm like, wow, it really affects our physiology, the change in climate.
Yeah, I'm talking to, like I said, talking to clients at the moment, and it's fascinating. They're amazed how that switch of going from one season to the next, and they're more aware now, and they're noticing joints are getting a little stiffer and drier as well.
Yeah, again, more airiness in the joints. This is so. It's time to moisturize.
Yes, let's try to lubricate and nourish and ground the Vata and get rid of that excess heat. So let's move now, Divya, into some seasonal fruit and veggies that are available this time of year. I find during the transition, there's the summer produce still there, and now you're starting to see the autumn stuff coming in as well. But let's talk more about the autumn foods that are coming in now, what nature gives us to help us balance our body and mind.
Yeah, well, still a lot of sweet fruits, but also astringent fruits are coming up. So grapes are very much in season, and Colette, you're in the south of France, and I can imagine all the grape vineyards around you.
Lots of them.
But see, grapes are so great because they call draksha in Sanskrit, and Ayurveda considers them the best of all fruits. Like they Ayurvedic texts, they give the list of best of each category. So the best of fruit, the best of grain, the best of lentils, beans. So grapes are listed as the best of fruit. Grapes and raisins.
Yes.
And they are really, really good because they're so sweet, and they're also very they're moist. They're not drying.
Yes.
So they really helps balance Vata and Pitta and release excess heat also from the liver. They're so good for the liver. But okay, so this is the but. The skin of the grapes is of astringent taste. So the grape itself is sweet, but the skin, and if it's seeded grapes, if they have seeds, hopefully they're more heirloom grapes, the seeds are also very astringent. So notice if you just eat the grape and you eat just the seed of it, you will notice how it dries your mouth immediately. It has this very strong astringent taste, and the same with the skin. So one of my Ayurveda teachers, Dr. Baswati Bhattacharya, like she would say, to make them most balancing for Vata, peel your grapes. And I was like, oh, give me a break. How do you peel? Especially if they're small. And
they're hard to peel.
Well, if they're really ripe, they're actually very easy to peel. And you have to find the sweet grapes, not the sour grapes. Because sour grapes will aggravate your pitta. And if they're a little bigger and you can just sit and peel one grape at a time, it's a great way to practice patience, which pitta balancing requires. But also, even if you just do one grape, just notice what a different taste it creates. If you just peel the grape and taste one grape with the skin and one grape without the skin, and you'll feel the difference. So I'm just fascinated with grapes. Any kind of grape, green grapes, black grapes, whatever you like. But grapes are really nice. I like to also blend them. So if I don't want to just eat them, you can also blend them into a smoothie. Add a little bit of water. I like to add a little bit of lime juice also, just to cut through the sweetness. So in this way, they become a little less sweet. And what I do also is I learned this remedy recently in the Master Ayurvedic class I'm taking with the Dinacharya Institute. And if you feel like a wave of heat and you're experiencing, even if you're going through menopause and experiencing hot flashes, which is like Pitta, you're getting these waves of heat that are so annoying. What you can do is just soak a few black raisins. Like it could be just 10 of them, or don't have to be a lot. Just soak them in hot water for half an hour at least, maybe an hour. And then have this as a snack. It's an immediate relief for pitta. It really works. I'm happy to give another very effective remedy for releasing heat.
Please.
And that's coriander water, which is just so simple.
Yes.
But you just take whole coriander seeds and you soak them. So let's see. I would soak 1 teaspoon or up to 1 tablespoon. You can soak in 4 cups of water overnight. Cool water. You don't boil it. Just room temperature. Spring water is ideal, or filtered water. Soak them overnight, and then the next day you can either start drinking the water, strain it and drink the water, or you can also crush the seeds a little bit and then drink the water. So that is also a great relief, because see, coriander seeds are very diuretic.
Yeah.
So they make you pee more.
Exactly.
And people are like, oh no, if it makes me pee, I don't want.
Yeah, but it's flushing all that heat out.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's also helping your kidneys tremendously. So it's a good thing to do.
It's a good thing to do, and it's very tasty. If you haven't tasted it, it's really worth trying. It's delicious.
Yeah, it has this sweetness. It's very nice.
Yeah, very, very nice. Great. So, and the raisins you use for the soaking, there's no particular type of raisin?
I like the Thompson raisins.
Okay.
And recently I discovered they're called Manuka raisins or something like this. I got them from Pure Indian Foods, the online store. And these are like very large raisins. It must be like really big grapes, because the raisin itself is so big.
Wow.
And they have seeds.
Okay.
And they are so delicious. You almost feel like eating a date. They're really special.
Nice. And it is nice to get the raisins that are not completely dry, because especially, you know, if you're heading to Vata season, you have a high Vata constitution or aggravation, you want those raisins to have a little bit of moisture in them, right? We don't want them completely dried unless you're soaking them.
Yeah, so well, that's why we soak them. So we rehydrate them, and they will not create dryness in the body.
Because some raisins can be really dry when you get them. Yeah. Well, ones I see in Europe can be completely dry and completely lacking of moisture. So you definitely don't want those ones. If you do have them, you want to rehydrate them.
Exactly.
Divya said. Okay, so some other fall goodies. We have grapes and raisins.
Well, of course, we have so many apples and so many types of pears.
Yes.
And I just spoke with my mom in Bulgaria. She's in Bulgaria, and she has this beautiful 2-acre garden. And she has so many different types of apple trees and pear trees. And she was telling me, there's so much to pick. It's like, I have to hire somebody to help me with the harvest, because it's just so much to pick. So yes, apples and pears, they have a little more astringency to them. And astringent foods usually are very cooling foods. So see how nature has helped us like add more cooling to help us release excessive heat.
Yeah. And really good to cook up those apples, right? And they are a great way, of eliminating that excess heat from the body. Yeah,
exactly. So if you cook the apple or the pear, it will not aggravate your vata. And this is one of the first cooked apple pre-breakfast is one of the first recipes I ever learned from my Ayurveda teacher, Vaidya Mishra. And he would always say, like, eat this first thing in the morning. So you take an apple, and I prefer the sweet variety of apples because they're both balancing for both vata and pitta.
Exactly.
And I would peel it. So the peel is hard to digest for vata, so definitely peel it. And some people are like, but there is most pectin in the peel. And I'm like, that's fine. Just put the peels in the water and cook it and drink the water, but don't eat the peel. It can be too aggravating for your intestines. So then cook the apple with a couple of cloves. So clove, like 2 whole cloves per apple, with a little bit of water, and just cook it until it's soft. And then eat this first thing in the morning. As soon as you wake up, as soon as you can prepare it, eat this, and you will feel such an incredible grounding, like you'll feel so grounded in your body. And if you haven't had your bowel movement, it will stimulate peristalsis. It will stimulate your bowel movement to come out. And it's just so satisfying, and it's so calming. It creates this calmness in the body, which both Vata and Pitta need to balance.
Exactly. Yeah. And would you add a little bit of ghee into that?
If your colon is very dry, yes, you can add a few drops of ghee. But if you have a lot of Pitta, you don't need it because your skin is probably too oily.
Right.
So it depends, right?
Absolutely. That's the thing with Ayurveda. We give advice, but it very much needs to be tailored as well. I'm going to jump in here because I want to talk to you about how important it is to really get a tailored approach, particularly when you're doing a seasonal cleanse. I have lots of clients who come to me and have tried cleansing on their own and found themselves getting into a whole lot more trouble, because it's really important to understand the current imbalance of your doshas. And as we talked about here, at the end of a hot season, there can be both a Vata and Pitta aggravation, and it's very different for everyone and manifests differently. And this is why it's so important to get that individualized, tailored approach. As I mentioned earlier, I have a seasonal group, a discounted cleanse, starting October 1st. The first week is just a preparation, so you have time to still register and do your consult right up until October 6th. So if you're interested in joining this group, a discounted cleanse, starting October 1st, but you have some time to do your consult until October 6th, then click on the link in the show notes or visit my website, elementshealingandwellbeing.com, and just click on the events tab. In this cleanse, you will get a 90-minute one-to-one online consult with me where we will chat in depth about your current health status, and I will tailor the recipes, the yoga, the self-care, the mindfulness, and anything else I think you need to your current situation so that we can bring your body and mind into balance. We can boost your immunity, boost your energy, your clarity, and get you on track, eliminating any accumulation of toxins and balancing any aggravated doshas so you can enter the new season feeling light and clear and energetic. So please come join us. We also have a private community where everyone who's joining from around the world will come together and we'll support each other and hold each other accountable. So just click on the link in the show notes or visit my website, elementshealingandwellbeing.com, and visit the events tab. I hope you can join us.
What else is seasonal? I saw prunes. So I go shop at the farmer's market. So there's still a lot of plums and prunes. And for me, I find they have to be really, really soft to balance Vata. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Otherwise they're too sour and too hard, and they can actually constipate you. So, like, enjoy them only if they're really soft, raw. If not, you can just cook them. Just like you cook the apple, you can cook some prunes in the morning.
I was going to say that, or cook them in with the apple.
Yeah, you can do that too.
Yeah, that could be nice, especially if you're having any Vata dryness in the colon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Great. Well, prunes are a great addition. Absolutely. Especially for those who have Vata aggravation of irregular bowel movements. They really are a great addition.
Yep.
Good.
And I'm waiting for the pomegranate season, which it starts early in California.
Right. So tell us more about pomegranates, because they're one of those fruits that are kind of awkward to eat and to manage because of all these little segments. They're amazing though. Yeah.
Pomegranates are they're definitely a superfruit. It's a superfood that's highly regarded in every culture in the world. Mm-hmm. It's just such a special fruit. But there are different kinds of pomegranate. For example, in my mom's garden, there is a pomegranate tree, and I got so excited when I saw it. And I was there one fall, and I picked the pomegranates and tried them, and they were extremely sour.
Oh.
So that's the sour variety of pomegranate.
Okay. You found that out.
Yeah. So I didn't really enjoy it much because I'm like, oh yeah, this is way too much.
Uh-huh.
But they also like different colors. There's a pink variety and a red variety. My favorite is the sweet red pomegranates. Mm. So the seeds are really beautiful dark red. And when you drink it, I usually juice them, and I'll tell you how I juice them in a minute. But I really like the juice, and the juice is predominantly sweet. So it's interesting because pomegranate also, the secondary taste is sour, but there is also a lot of astringency in pomegranate. So I always list it as an astringent food as well, because the rind of the pomegranate is super astringent. It really makes you pucker if you try to eat even the little, what's called the pith inside
the white pith.
The skin. Yeah. So that's also, if you try to chew on it, immediately to dry your mouth, because that's what astringent foods do. They create dryness.
Right.
And then the seeds. So when you juice, there are the little seeds inside. So the seeds are also very astringent. Pomegranate the sweet pomegranate juice is considered tridoshic.
And it's a blood cleanser as well, isn't it?
Oh, it's amazing. It has so many wonderful actions in the body. So because it's tridoshic, even though it has slightly sour taste, we're talking about the sweet pomegranates, they will not aggravate pitta. In fact, it will help really balance pitta. And with pomegranate juice for balancing vata, Vaidya always recommended to dilute it with water. So it doesn't create constipation, because astringent foods are constipating.
Of course.
They produce dryness and constipation. And I recommend diluting fresh juice anyway. It's always good to dilute fresh juice with a little bit of water, because otherwise it's just too much sugar at once.
True.
And then it's so great for kapha. Oh my God, it's one of the best things for balancing kapha, because it really has this scraping effect as well. Has a cleansing effect. It helps with blood sugar. It helps the liver. It helps your skin. It helps reduce acidity. Again,
and blood pressure as well, right?
Blood pressure, I mean, so many different things. It's amazing how it strengthens your immune system. And it's also very good for increasing the blood count, because it helps with anemic conditions. And then you can save the rind. So you can dry the rind of the pomegranate. And then when you have diarrhea, you can make pomegranate tea with the rind.
Oh, excellent.
Rind tea.
That's a great idea.
And this is a great way to stop diarrhea. It is very quick.
Very good tip.
Yes. And if you're not don't have much of a relationship with pomegranate, definitely try it this season. It will make your cheeks more rosy.
Oh, yes. Well, you've inspired me. I'm going to definitely check out the pomegranates here. Great. Okay. So other fruits that are seasonal this time of year, or do you want to move on to veggies?
Yeah, let's talk about vegetables. We're moving into a season when there's less and less fruits.
Yes, that's true. But it's good to know what is available: the grapes, apples, pears, prunes, and pomegranates. So that's a good list.
Yes, and they come in large varieties. So
yes, exactly.
And also, wherever in the world you are, just go to the farmer's market and see what else you can. Like right now, I can still find blueberries in New York City. I can still find peaches. They're still around.
Great. Yeah, that's the best way. That's my advice too. Go to the farmer's market instead of guessing what's in season. It's right there. It's local. You're supporting those local farmers, and it's usually cheaper because it's abundant.
Yeah, and it's also freshly picked.
Exactly.
So it's so important to know, like, when the time gap between the time a piece of fruit or vegetables was picked and the time you cook it. It has more prana, more life force.
So true, because as we know, if they're being shipped from a different country, they're picked before they're ripened and shipped in cold containers to stop them from ripening. So then they're ripening on the shelf of a supermarket. So obviously always better to go to a local farmer's market.
Yes.
Yes. Great. Okay. Veggies.
Well, I still personally incorporate a lot of the summer vegetables, and they're still abundant, like different kinds of summer squashes, fennel, leafy greens, because all of them still continue to release Pitta. But what I would do is, to balance Vata, I would add a little more Vata balancing spices like fresh ginger. Fresh ginger has sweet post-digestive effect, post-digestive taste, so it's not as aggravating for Pitta. Maybe some cinnamon, some cloves. Like, I would add a little more warming spices to balance Vata as well.
Very good. That's good to know.
And you can see butternut squashes and the kabocha squash and the pumpkin, not yet pumpkin, but
no.
I just want to warn you guys, because the orange flesh squashes tend to be more clogging to the body.
Yeah.
They're very dense and a little more drying. So I, like Vaidya Mishra always said, don't eat them a lot because they tend to create clogging. They have a clogging effect.
Right. So it's pumpkin. And
especially the pumpkins. Yeah. So I really crave butternut squash sometimes, and I would have it occasionally in a soup or a stew, or I would roast it. But just don't eat them so much. And sweet potatoes are really great in this season through the end of winter. Yeah,
they're great. And I have to say, I'm eating a lot of zucchini or courgette, like you said earlier. But they're good too because they have a lot of moisture in them.
Yes. They help release the excess heat from the body without aggravating Vata.
Yes, exactly. Very good. So as we go on into the cooler seasons, we'll see even more of those root vegetables coming in.
Yeah, and you will notice also as the weather gets colder and cooler, Agni, or the digestive fire, starts going up.
Yes.
So cold temperatures increase our digestive fire. And that's when we're craving more of heavier foods, like root vegetables are considered the heaviest vegetables to digest. So that's why we crave them more in the winter, because we need heavier foods to balance with the cold temperatures and to satisfy the high Agni, or the high digestive fire. So beets, carrots, daikon radish, all these different root vegetables are coming more and more into season.
Yeah, and like you said, the digestive fire in summer is less, and we tend to maybe lose a few pounds in summer. And then in winter, it's designed that we gain a few pounds, and that's okay. We need that little bit of buffer.
Yeah.
So be okay with that.
Yes, a little padding. It helps you withstand the cold.
Exactly. So I think, knowing that that's the design of nature, and that it's okay if we have, a little extra few pounds that we gain back after that we lost during the summer, it's okay. And it will come off again late spring, early summer.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of eating seasonally, because I noticed with myself when I eat seasonal foods, and I've been doing this for more than a decade now, but when I'm really conscious of adjusting my diet with the seasons, it really feels so natural. I don't even worry about a couple of extra pounds.
Exactly.
It's just, I just feel good. I may have gained a few extra pounds, which I rarely do because I have a Vata body anyway. But if I did, I don't feel bad. I feel good.
Exactly.
If I lose a few extra pounds in summer, I still feel good because I'm just moving with the changes in nature. Yeah,
I think that's one of the biggest lessons for me. Of course, Ayurveda has so much wisdom to share, but for me, it's just, yes, respecting my body's needs and the way it will change through the different seasons, and also knowing, your portion size and what to eat. And there's less stress around food. Yeah. Which is a beautiful thing. There's less emotional eating, less stress around food, and there's more of a respect for it and an understanding, and less thinking about it, and obsessing over it.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, it really creates freedom around that when you have more of an understanding of the way your body flows through the seasons and what it needs. So you're thinking more about what your body needs rather than, what specific diet you're on, or what has certain calories, or, all that counting calories. And, that isn't even a consideration when you're living in tune with the seasons.
It's such an important point. Thank you for bringing this up.
Yeah, it's, I think we're so conditioned, right? And particularly as women, we're conditioned over the years about fat. And when we eat fat, there's this conditioning we have that it means fat on the body.
Yes.
And we see that during cleansing. It's not so. We're using lots of ghee in cleansing and still people shed pounds.
Yeah.
Because, it doesn't correlate to that you're eating lots of fat will mean that you're going to accumulate fat in the body.
Exactly, yeah. Because good quality, especially the cultured ghee, it helps clear toxins from the fat tissue.
Exactly.
So you need good fats to cleanse fat soluble toxins in the body.
Exactly.
And that's why you have this reaction. And by the way, we were talking a lot about dryness of the skin and dryness in the body because Vata is so much higher and in the environment in our body. We need to cook with a little extra fat during the fall season. And also a little extra protein. So the colder it gets, we need a little more fat and a little more protein because these are heavier foods that will help sustain and create groundedness?
Make it more grounding, quality.
Yeah, exactly, because Vata is so light and airy, and when it's so ungrounded, we just feel scattered and we cannot concentrate, and we may feel more anxious. But eating those heavier foods will help us, and we'll have the stronger digestive fire naturally to break them down.
Exactly. Yep, absolutely. So good fats, grounding foods, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and be careful with salads.
Now's the time to let
salads.
go. Yeah, now's the time to let go of the salads as we enter into the cooler season.
Yeah, the raw salads can really become to imbalance you as it gets cooler and windier. And what I would recommend if you're really a salad person, just have steamed salads or roasted vegetable salads.
I love the roasted vegetable salad. I think it's great. With a little tahini on it, as well. It's great.
Yeah, and fresh herbs. Good.
I love this autumn season. I love the change of, clothes, putting on more layers and the new foods. I just think it's so exciting to have these changes. And that's important too, because I know in the past, before I knew about Ayurveda, I wouldn't really change my food. It was like the same things I was eating year round. And so it is really important and it adds more excitement to change your foods with the seasons.
Yeah. And you really feel more connected to nature that way.
Exactly. Okay. So I don't know if you want to mention more veggies, but I'm also interested in talking more about spices.
Yeah, I mean, with veggies is exactly the same principle as with fruits. Just go to the farmer's market and see what's available and what you're drawn to. So use your intuition to select the foods. What is your body calling for? Definitely, I want to mention also, be careful with all these chili peppers and all these hot chili peppers. Like, I saw so many different colors of chili peppers on the market, and I'm like, not for me. Too much heat right now. So be careful with the very hot foods. And again, what are you drawn? Of course, there are a ton of tomatoes on the market right now as well. But tomatoes are also very acidic foods, and they can increase heat in the body as well. So just be careful.
I think the nightshades now, especially if you're having a lot of heat in the body, lower the nightshades, like the tomatoes that Divya just mentioned, eggplant, the peppers,
really.
White potatoes as well. Move more towards sweet potato would be good.
Yeah. And then with spices, so see, when we speak about warm foods in cold season, we also need warming seasonings. In other words, spices and herbs that increase warmth in the body. They kind of warm you up on the inside. Right. So it's not just warm temperature of food, but also warming spices and foods in general. The beauty of fall season, also winter season, is that we can have almost all spices. Yes.
As it gets cooler, you can up the heat in the spices.
Yeah. And most spices, they're actually, when you look at cooling spices or food spices that create coolness, increase coolness in the body, and heating spices, there are a lot more heating spices than cooling spices.
Yes.
So that's why I'm saying we always need to use also the cool spices because they balance the heat of the hot spices. So you can use coriander and fennel. These are cooling spices: coriander, fennel, green cardamom. And I don't know, they're not that many. I use rose petals a lot. in my spice blends as well. Like these are all cilantro. These are all cooling spices, but you can use them all year round.
Yes.
In the cold seasons, we just add more heating spices. So this is when cinnamon and cloves and ginger, black cardamom, cumin is also kind of a cooling spice. It's kind of slightly heating, but cooling. It's not too heating. And then I love black cumin or kalonji. Kalonji is the Indian name. Kalonji seeds, they're so amazing. Kalonji is listed as a spice that can burn ama or release, kind of cleanse ama from one of the 7 tissues in the body. And it's so tasty. And I use it instead of cumin sometimes. And it gives you these little black specks because it looks a little bit like black sesame, but it's more black and smaller. I love kalonji. I use it a lot. Some people call it nigella seeds.
That's right. Yes. Yeah.
But don't use the black. So the oil from these seeds, the black seed oil, is way too heating for the liver. And Vaidya Mishra always told me, like, don't use the oil. Even though it's antioxidant and this and that and this and that, it can be too hot for your liver. Just use the spice. Okay. And then ajwain. Ajwain is so good for balancing vata and kapha, but it's very, very heating. So only use ajwain if your pitta is not too high.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good tip. What about Asafoetida?
Asafoetida, yeah. Asafoetida. If you find the pure one, and I would tell you, like, pureindianfoods.com, it's a great online store with lab tested, clean products, especially like yellow split mung, and they have organic kalonji, all kinds of other spices and ghee and all kinds of other things. But they carry, and it's called the best hing ever. Ooh. And hing is the Hindi name for Asafoetida. It's so strong, Colette. I literally, I don't measure it. I just take like the tip of the knife.
A pinch.
And like a tiny little baby pinch.
It's powerful.
Because it's very pure and very strong.
Wow.
So Asafoetida is great for reducing gasiness in the body, especially when you cook lentils.
Yes.
But it's very heating for pitta. So if you have high pitta, don't use it. But otherwise, it's very good.
And what about fenugreek?
Fenugreek is such an interesting spice. Right. I love fenugreek because it's very bitter, but it's also very pungent.
Yeah.
So it is a heating spice.
Right.
And it's great. I like to mix it with coriander to balance the heat.
Oh, good idea. Yeah.
And in my first cookbook, What to Eat for How You Feel, I have a recipe for it. I call it fat burning masala because fenugreek really helps with strengthening the agni, the fire, the metabolic fire in the fat tissue. It helps with fat metabolism.
Okay.
And also protein metabolism. And it's so good for your hormonal system also. Yes. But to balance the heat of the fenugreek, you add a little coriander, which is cooling. And it's a great spice as well.
Okay, good to know about adding the coriander to balance out that heat. That's great. Okay, and then I wanted to finish up, Divya, talking about some of your favorite autumn dishes that can really help to pacify vata and make sure that it doesn't aggravate that pitta heat.
Yeah, well, I make the cooked apple a lot. So that's like a very simple recipe that I do, and you can all do every day. You will be amazed how good it feels, especially in this season.
Great. And can I ask you a question? Sorry to interrupt on that.
Yep.
So you said add 2 cloves per apple. Would you find the clove pungent? Would you, if you have a lot of pitta, would it be okay to add the 2 cloves, or would you add some cardamom in as a bit of cooling to offset that?
Yeah, you can add cardamom or a piece of cinnamon stick.
Okay.
I asked Vaidya Mishra the same question.
Yeah.
And I asked him, how come clove is predominantly pungent taste? How come you recommend it for pitta? And then he said, well, it has it can have a cooling. It also has sweetness in it,
Right.
and it can have a cooling effect on the body. So he explained how clove, because it has sweet post-digestive taste.
Yes. Okay.
And he said clove is one of those spices that the pungency will open the channels and clear sluggishness and blockages from the channels. Dry phlegm, it has a lot of antiseptic properties as well, but it will not aggravate pitta
because of the sweet VPOC. That's really interesting. Yeah. Okay, great to know that.
And then one explanation I got from one of my teachers is that it depends also on where the clove is growing.
Absolutely.
The soil and the environment it is growing in. So if it grows in one environment, it can be more sweet.
Yeah.
The same spice, if it grows in another environment, it can be more pungent.
True. Yeah, it's so true.
And the thing about the apple is that you don't really eat the cloves. They remain whole.
Yes.
So the effect of the clove on the apple is very gentle. It will not overheat you.
The flavor goes so well together, though, with clove and apples. It's so delicious.
Yes. Really, and your whole house will smell so nice.
Right? It's a real autumn smell. It's gorgeous. Okay, thank you for clarifying that about the cloves. So we're talking about some of your favorite autumn dishes. So you're saying the apples, the cooked apples.
Yes, I really gravitate towards soups and stews. Yeah. I make the minestrone, which will be in my new cookbook. I have a really delicious minestrone Ayurvedic recipe. Because it's like a complete meal.
Yes, so true. Can I ask you I'm not going to ask about the recipe because I know the book is still in production, but do you have what base do you use in that?
So I use, the grain in the minestrone is whole barley, which I soaked the night before. Mm-hmm. So barley is very balancing for pitta because it's a cooling grain, and I use a little bit, so it's not too heavy for vata. And then I like to use azuki beans
the little red ones.
Yeah, or I would use the small variety of chickpeas that they're not as clogging as the large variety.
Okay.
Because the large beans, they have a lot of dryness. You know how dry beans are?
Yes.
And because of that, they can cause blockages and makes them harder to digest, makes them more gassy. So I avoid large beans in general, but azuki beans are smaller.
I like azuki beans.
They're so good.
Right.
And there is a small variety of chickpeas. It almost looks like peas. It's like much smaller size.
Yes, I have seen them dried.
Yes, I use those. Yeah.
That sounds delicious.
And then lots of herbs, it's totally Italian flavors. I use parsley and basil and oregano. And then for the vegetables, I use a little bit of taro root. You can put all kinds of vegetables, really.
Yeah.
But I like to add a little bit of cabbage. And it's kind of tridoshics. And the cabbage cooks really well, so it doesn't aggravate vata.
Right.
I add a little bit of taro. Yeah.
Nice.
Taro or celery or carrot. It's just so tasty.
So good. And I love barley. I've been using that a lot more lately. It's just so good.
Barley is it's another super grain. A lot of people stay away from it because it has a little bit of gluten.
Right. That's right.
But if you buy barley, always buy it organic because the non-organic is very high in glyphosate, which is so bad for you.
Yeah.
But barley, it's in my new cookbook, which I cannot announce the title yet. But the new cookbook is Cooking by Ingredient. And I feature different grains and different lentils and beans and different vegetables and fruits, etc. So I feature barley. I have a whole profile on barley and barley water, how to make it, when to drink it, and it's really. I'm really excited about this new book.
Oh, well, I am too. I look forward to seeing it. But yeah, barley is that great grain. Like I said, it's very good for pitta and for kapha.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And soups, dals, like lentil soups.
Always
dals, good. Khichdi is always good. It feels really good in fall. Any kind of cooked vegetables I would make. Like cabbage is so much in season now. And it's so interesting because cabbage is predominantly astringent, so it's great for balancing pitta and kapha. But it can be very gassy and airy for vata.
Yeah.
But I make braised cabbage.
Oh.
So I sauteed it with spices and then add a little broth on the stove, and I cook it in the clay pot, and then I put it in the oven. I braise it in the oven.
Oh, nice.
And it becomes so soft and so sweet. And it's so moist, and the texture, it just melts in your mouth. It has such an incredible experience to eat that braised cabbage.
Wow, you're really selling it. It sounds amazing.
But I'm saying because that's an exception. This is one way to eat cabbage without aggravating vata.
Exactly, because usually it's so aggravating for vata.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that sounds delicious. Well, thank you, Divya, for sharing all that insight into some great autumn foods and balancing the pitta and vata this time of the year. Now you've certainly got me hungry.
Well, thank you. I love speaking with you. You're such a wealth of knowledge. And
oh, my goodness. I'm like picking your brain here and learning so much along the way. But Divya, thank you so much. I really appreciated it. And I, too, really enjoy our conversations. And I'd like for you to tell people where they could go to find out more about you, Divya, and your offerings. And I believe you have an offering for the community as well.
Yeah, well, you can always find us on social media. My personal social media, I do it when I have more time or when I feel excited to share something. I don't like posting just for the sake of posting.
I hear you. Yeah.
On social media. So my personal social media is Divya Alter. And Divyas Kitchen is a lot more active. So Divyas Kitchen NYC, and you can really have a lot more information about what's going on with all of our offerings. We're just starting with our school, Bhagavat Life. We're just starting this Saturday. We're starting a new round of our Ayurvedic nutrition and culinary training.
Fantastic.
I'm so excited. We have 45 students from all over the world.
Wow, that's amazing. Well done. That's great.
I know. We have like more than 20 people on the wait list right now. So it's so nice. It's completely virtual and really life-changing. Everybody tells me how life-changing it is. It's really it's Ayurveda, but we focus on all the culinary aspects of food. And so even if you're a practitioner, it will be completely new for you. Well, it will be new in the sense that you'll be learning it from a culinary perspective, which nobody else teaches as far as I know.
Yeah, and you're putting it into practice rather than reading
into practice, right? Yeah, right there in your kitchen, and I show you how to make it. And then with Divyas Kitchen, we still have our products. Yes. Our kitchen products, soup products, and I designed several more, which we're planning to release in the next couple of months. Excellent. And we have a special fall bundle offer. Ooh. And as always, for our listeners, for the Elements of Ayurveda podcast, we are offering 15% discount. So Colette, you include the Elements of Ayurveda 15 code in the write-up, right?
Yes, I'll put that link in the show notes so people can take full advantage of that and check out Divya's products. Also, check out the school. As you can see, Divya is a wealth of knowledge. And Divya, thank you so much, as always, for coming on the show, taking time. And it's always a pleasure. I always learn so much.
It's my greatest pleasure to speak with you. Thank you so much, Colette.
All right, Divya, so we'll talk again soon. Take good care of yourself and happy autumn.
Yes, thank you. And take care, everybody. Thank you for listening.
Ciao. I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Divya. And please check out all the links in the show notes. And don't forget the discount code, Elements of Ayurveda 15 that you can use in Divya's online store. All that information is in the show notes. And also a reminder, if you're interested in joining the group seasonal cleanse starting October 1st, you actually have until October 6th to register because the first week is a preparation week. But Please make sure register soon so you can book your online 90-minute one-to-one consultation with me so I can tailor the recipes, the yoga, the self-care, the mindfulness, etc. to you and get you ready to cleanse so you can enter the new season feeling light and clear and energetic. If you think that this episode will be helpful to family or friends, please share it with them and we can spread the wisdom of Ayurveda. And if you haven't already done so, please subscribe or follow the podcast. And if you would like to leave a rating and review, I would really appreciate that. Thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take good care of yourself, be well, and bye for now. Slán go fóill.